This is Showtime, a podcast about the people behind the curtain and the stories that shape them. I'm Andrew G, and each week I sit down with creatives, leaders and risk takers from the theatre world and beyond. We talk about what they do, why they do it, and what it really takes to keep showing up. Today, I'm joined by Leighton Garwin, a dynamic performer with nearly 50 shows under his belt, from Jacqueline Hyde to The Boy from Oz. We are going to chat about his background in music and writing and his day job in medical admin. Leighton knows how to balance passion and practicality. Right now he's working on Chess the Musical, and today we will dive into the process, the passion and the journey so far. Welcome to Showtime, Leighton Garwin.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. What was it that started your love of performing?
Way back at the dawn of time, I was actually studying to be a marine biologist, and I had no performing experience whatsoever. I managed to fall into it by accident. I was accompanying a friend to an audition as moral support. Somehow got convinced to audition, and prior to that I hadn't sung anywhere. Hadn't sung in the shower, in the car. I didn't even know what would come out of my mouth when I sung. Apparently it was half decent because I got a supporting role in a production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And it started as a little hobby because I was like, oh, here's a place where I am always going to have room to grow and get better. And everyone was different. And surprisingly, my little quirks and idiosyncrasies weren't shunned. So I was like, okay, this could be my little extracurricular thing. And yeah, very quickly I got bitten by the bug and haven't turned back since.
Do you remember the feeling that first time on stage?
Yeah, it was, I can't quite describe it. It was because I was always shy growing up and quite reserved, and being able to kind of release all this pent up feeling and channel that into something creative and getting that energy back from audiences, it was like therapy, and it's cheap therapy, and that's probably why I've kept coming back to it at the crux of it.
Do you remember the moment when it sort of clicked to you that performing on stage is your thing?
Yeah. So with a lot of the stuff that I was doing growing up, very science, academic based, one thing I found was that I didn't feel challenged. I didn't feel ambitious. I didn't feel that spark, that drive. And I think once I started getting into performing, it became not only a sort of gateway to learn more about myself, but connect with people. And I remember after doing a few shows, that buzz when you get out on stage, all the nerves, adrenaline, and engaging with audiences and just getting their feedback when they're in their seats, and finding that I was able to connect through my creativity and see and feel those reactions from people. There's nothing quite like it.
So for you, it was about the connection with the audience as well as the collaborators on and off stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do you feel you connect with audiences like that?
For me, my primary love is music, and that was always my best form of communication growing up. I struggled to talk to people and convey my feelings, but through music, it came a lot easier to me. And being able to connect with people emotionally through music and storytelling and, and that aspect of it really is, I think, what drives that connection for me.
And you've done around 50 shows now.
A few, yeah.
Is there one in particular that you think really shaped you as a performer?
Yeah. All of them have given me something different, but first and foremost would probably be Jacqueline Hyde back in 2012, a show that's not really done all that often. And I was already a fan of the novella Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I found that was really defining for me as a performer and my interests as well on stage. I tend to gravitate more towards story-driven pieces, and sometimes that have like a dark, macabre edge, and particularly that deal with the psyche and the duality. And that challenged me as a performer. It challenged me as a person. Challenged me vocally. For some bizarre reason, going into it, I didn't realise that I was on stage for 95% of it and sung most of the songs, and being able to, again, as I mentioned before, channel my creative energy into something like that and, almost a therapeutic experience.
Have you ever had a role that you almost turned down but glad you didn't?
Yeah, actually, the role directly after Jacqueline Hyde, which was 42nd Street, and I played Billy Lawler in that. And that kind of musical, prior to that, I didn't think would be one that I would enjoy. I literally went into auditions for it to shake off the residual effects of Jacqueline Hyde from giving it so much of my energy and being a little off kilter after that. And I was like, okay, in my head, I was like, I need to go straight into something that's the exact opposite. I was like, what's more opposite than this classic theatrical show that's all song and dance and smiles and clean cut edges? And I was like, I wouldn't do this normally, but going into it and very quickly into the process, I developed appreciation for that style of musical theatre, and it pushed me in a different way to expand my skills. And by the end of it, I was so grateful for everything it had given me as a performer and emotionally as well, to kind of balance that out.
And how was that for you as a creative, as a performer? Because those two roles, I mean, it's pretty much a 180-degree spin.
Yeah. Well, aside from kind of pushing my skill set and the reward internally that came with that, it broadened my mind to what different creative outlets can give you, and your taste will constantly evolve and your personality evolves. And it was really highlighting the different aspects where you think you have a perception of how you are entirely as a performer, and you're constantly realizing that that changes and that grows, and that you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself in one direction.
What's the first thing when you get a new script or new score? What's your process for getting into a new show, a new character?
Yeah, so I have little rituals. My first thing is getting, if I get a script, a lot of it now is digital. I still, trees, I love to have a hard copy. So I'll go get it printed and bound, name it so it's mine, and if, providing that's allowed, and I'll then highlight and use my little tabs and color code, and I'll start a routine of learning lines. I really like to hit the ground running, and if it's a show, for example, like chess, where there's lots of different versions that have happened over the years and different performances, I'll start deep diving into them and seeing what speaks to me and what connects with my performance style, and just completely immerse myself in it.
And when you're developing the character in your own mind, are you more of a research everything sort of a performer, or sort of discover in rehearsal with the other creatives and collaborators?
It starts off more as a research thing, but I'm very open to collaboration. I've always sort of seen myself as a performer. I didn't start this journey coming with training or the intent that this was from a very young age, that this is what I was going to do. So I've always, in the back of my mind, maybe had the insecurity that I don't have the polish and the training that a lot of people do. What do I bring to a role? And being someone who sees it as a way to express your feelings and your emotions and stuff like that, I very much try and bring a lot of myself to it. And, I'm always told with auditions and stuff like that, and casting people know what they want, and they know what you can bring, whether you've worked with them before or not. They know what they're looking for. And so when I'm cast in something, I sort of tell myself, well, so they saw something in me. They saw a part of me that can come across. So, but I'm very open to collaboration because I've always sort of seen it as a learning environment as well.
And you're working on chess now.
Yes.
That opens in September at the Round in Nunawading.
Yes.
How did chess first come on your radar?
It was quite a while ago. I've always sort of been a fan of ABBA, and Benny and Bjorn from ABBA are the musical writers of the show. So I think that's where my curiosity started when I was just, deep diving on the internet about different shows. And what appealed to me initially was the music and the scale of the score, but also the variety in singing. Then, delving into the story and its sort of political backdrop was quite intriguing to me and real and grounded. And just the messy relationships in it and how they evolve through this game that is very structured and militant. And I just thought it was very different and that, strengthened the appeal to me.
For those that don't know the story, can you tell us a little bit about chess?
Yeah, so it's set in the 80s against the backdrop of the Cold War at the World Chess Championships. And it focuses on several key characters. So you've got what they refer to as the American and the Russian. So American Freddie Trumper and the Russian Anatoli Servietsky. And they sort of represent real life world chess champions. So Freddie Trumper is sort of a version of American Bobby Fischer. Anatoly Servietsky is a take on Anatoly Karpov. And where they come from and their backgrounds are highlighted through their differing approaches. Freddie's very much about the drama and the money, and Anatoly's very rigid and about the game. And throughout all this, there's another key character, Florence Vassi, who's Hungarian-born but lost her family when Poland invaded. And so her life has been upheaved, and she is very passionate about chess and, and her career and everything. And so she kind of gets caught in the middle between the two. But yeah, chess is used as, I guess, like a visual metaphor for the political climate at the time.
When you say the political climate at the time,
yeah.
It's everything old is new again, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sort of, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very keen to bring it to audiences again now, because it is very familiar at the moment. And and so I think now more than ever, it's something that audiences need to see.
So chess deals with power, with loyalty, with politics and with love. Which of those themes resonate most with you?
For me, probably love, as poxy as that might sound, because love can be political and it can involve power. And I think that's why I particularly relate to the character I'm playing, Anatoly. All these perceptions of who he should be, where his focus and loyalty should lie. He's pulled in this political direction, but for him it's about the game, and the game is almost a refuge. And being from, Russia and his upbringing, has this expectation to be controlled, to be well put together. Then, having his relationship issues with his wife, Svetlana, and then falling in love with Florence. And then being pulled in all these different directions, and he starts to question everything about himself and the situation he's in. And I find, he's challenged politically, he's challenged through power and his position, and then challenged in love. And I think at the crux of it all, love is what drives him, whether he realizes it or not. And all those other elements come into play.
There's a lot of really intense music in chess. How do you approach the vocal demands of that show?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate enough a couple of years ago to be a pit singer in Clock's production of chess. And that was a really good starting ground to build my vocal stamina up. And part of, what appeals to me about the show is the variation in vocal styles. You have songs like Nobody's Side, which is very pop choir, driven, and then you have other songs like Anthem and Hymn to Chess, which are almost traditional musical theatre, almost operatic in style. So it's a good test of vocal ability. And when I approach something like that, I go heavy into vocal exercises and training and playing around with sound. And it was something that's very akin to what I had to do in Jacqueline Hyde, playing two very distinct characters with very distinct voices. And I really love those sorts of challenges because, singing and music are my, at the crux of, and first and foremost, my greatest passion, to be able to push myself with that and explore those different capabilities of voice. That's what's really exciting about it for me.
But it is very technical singing. And how do you balance that with the emotional storytelling of a musical theatre performance?
Yeah, and being someone I consider myself quite emotionally tuned, and story-driven pieces and, telling a story are probably at the forefront of my ability as a singer. It is very tricky because sometimes you can get too emotionally in the moment, and that can affect your singing. So it's about kind of working to balance that. And, I've studied with different vocal coaches, and, now the different exercises and programs you can access online, and just relying on the experience of people around me, just to find that balance. And it might be, in certain vocal moments where it might be particularly challenging, and you then kind of lean more into the story side, because a lot of the time you have it there vocally. So then it's just about not placing so much focus on that, which can throw yourself off, because you're constantly thinking, okay, this note's so high, how do it's coming, I'm scared, and then you stuff it up. And then it's kind of like, and that throws you off entirely. Things like, if you are struggling to hit a particular note, thinking about the note after it, and it's sort of like your focus is there, and all of a sudden you've hit that high note and you're on to the next. But looking at where the story is in that moment, and what the lyrics are, and what your character's trying to convey, to bring that forward. And I have found no one is going to be 100% perfect technique-wise at any point. It's live theatre, but trusting in what you can do vocally, but then focusing on the story, because that is the bit that, for me, I find connects the most with audiences.
Do you have a favourite number from the show?
Yes. Well, everyone would think that it would be Anatoli's big number, Anthem. But for me,
I was kind of expecting you to say that.
But for me, it's actually Nobody's Side, which is one of Florence's big numbers. All of them I really like. Surprisingly, I find often when I'm doing a show, it's not that I don't love the songs that my character does. I find myself appreciating the different ones around me. So in this one, where my character has a lot of legit musical theatre sound, I then appreciate the pop rock elements around me. So songs like Nobody's Side, songs like Pity the Child. And I don't know whether it's sort of like I wish I was doing that. You get a particular thing that you think you want, and then you want that, but it's more, I don't know, I just really appreciate it, and it highlights the variety. And because I also, my singing style can veer in towards pop rock, and I do have experience in that outside of musical theatre, I then sort of appreciate that, and being in the different vein, I guess, with this show and the way that Anatoli sings. So seeing other people kind of doing that around me, it just really gets me excited.
Leighton, you touched on the Cold War backdrop of this story, and we sort of circled back to what's going on in the world in 2025. What message or feeling do you hope audiences walk away with after seeing this production of Chess?
I hope it sort of draws people's attention to what's going on and how history's sort of repeating itself. And I just want people to ask questions. I want people to pay attention. There's a lot, like I find, I wouldn't say in my everyday life that I'm so politically motivated. I tend to, when things are going wrong in the world, I tend to shut down. I tend to avoid it all because it's really disheartening and it's really scary. And you're reminded how small you are in the greater scheme of things. And this is something that I also felt during COVID. It's very easy to get so caught up in it all and feel like you can't do anything. So you retreat into your shell. You're like, I'm the little man in a big, I'm the little cog in a big machine. I can't do anything. So I'm going to pretend it's not there. And it can be a self-preservation thing, which is good. But if you stay in that too long, you forget and you ignore what's happening around you. And I think, a show that sort of highlights what's going on at the moment, it's not that I am hoping or expecting everyone to, stand up and from one show and, fight. And I just want people to be reminded of what's going on and particularly pay attention to the fact that it is history repeating, and maybe there's something in that we need to take away that's important.
It sounds to me that this is also an opportunity for you to push yourself out of that comfort zone after that sort of natural instinct to retreat at times like this and push yourself out on stage and share that message, those feelings with other people.
Absolutely. And, like I said, it's musical theatre and performing is therapy for me. And it does challenge me. And if I'm not challenged by it, then why am I doing it? And I think, to kind of force me to acknowledge those things, but also connect with these characters and remind, myself and everyone else out there that we're all human, we're all flawed, and we make mistakes, and we should constantly be questioning everything around us.
Has working on this show changed the way you see power and politics and ambition?
Yes, reminded me, because it's so easy as a outsider seeing all this stuff on television and media coverage, to the way it's painted for us, and to kind of go, okay, this is what it is. It's so black and white, but it's not. And kind of living in these characters at the moment and being reminded how flawed we are as human beings and how messy it is, dealing with emotions and the climate around us. It's never black and white. It's never, just about right or wrong. And so being reminded of that has maybe made my view of things. I still have my strong opinions, but I'm less bitter and I'm less angry and less forceful and aggressive out of hurt and retaliation with what's going on in the climate. And I think, doing this show so far has really not softened my edges, but made me take a step back and examine things and ask questions like, when I'm so caught up in this negative feeling and this negative emotion with a particular thing that's going on, am I really serving a better purpose? Am I really helping the situation? So it challenges me to kind of take a step back and look at things going on before acting or, putting that out there.
I mean, it's some of this stuff we're talking about is really heavy and beyond the scope of this podcast in some ways. But it is still at its core a really great night out.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So it's one of those shows that often people have said you're either going to love it or hate it, or you're not going to get the story. The same as with any show. There's things that the general public en masse will be like, oh, this is, great about it. This isn't. But it has aspects that appeal to everyone. And I honestly believe that. whether you're just a music lover and you're curious about other music outside ABBA and what people know about Benny and Bjorn from that. This has a lot of songs in the show that have that flavour of ABBA music, so songs like Nobody's Side, One Night in Bangkok, but then surprising songs that are so much more intricate and emotionally driven and, you know, have all these layers. So that I find will be very appealing to people. If you're a lover of chess and, you know, history with that and iconic, you know, moments in chess history, then you're going to find something from that. If you love, you know, very kind of intricate stories and those sorts of driven pieces, then you're going to love that as well. I feel it's one of those shows that it's less about getting exactly one thing out of it. And when you go into a show with no kind of preconceived notions of how it should or shouldn't be, then you might be surprised what you get out of it.
I'm with Leighton Garwin. We're talking about chess that opens on the 12th of September at The Round in Nunawading. For more info and to book tickets, go to theround.com.au. Leighton, thank you so much for coming into the studio and all the very best for chess.
Thank you for having me.